In World 5-1, the level is identical to its arcade counterpart. Only the enemies have been altered. Some Goombas are missing or replaced with Buzzy Beetles. The Goombas that are missing in the arcade is actually strategic because you are unable to get the 1-ups by sliding the Koopas into the enemies consecutively, like you can do in the NES. But again, another well-done sub-level. Moving on to World 5-2. We start here, right after these bricks. In the arcade, a bullet bill cannon is added right after. Next up is this pipe right after the Hammer Brother. In the arcade, there are 2 small pits in between the pipe. Next are these mystery boxes right here. The arcade has a small pit right after them. Next up is this spot right here, right after this pit. In the arcade, another pit is added, and there are 3 single bricks above. The last brick is a vine to a coin bonus. Next up are these 3 Buzzy Beetles. In the arcade, there are only 2. And last is this brick right here, which contains a power-up. In the arcade, it's not there. Another well-done level. Moving on to World 5-3, and man, did they just get plain fucking lazy on this level. Look familiar? Well, it should, because it's World 1-3. The only differences are the platforms are smaller and bullet bills continuously fire throughout the level. This lazy excuse of a level is not worthy of being this far into the game. How about keeping it at, I don't know, World 1-3 maybe? Anyways, the arcade, as you probably guessed, is completely different. It's shorter and not super difficult. The bullet bills force you to time your jumps a little, but that's really it. It just baffles me that they replaced this level with what we got on the NES. Okay, moving on to the 5th castle, World 5-4. Alright, so what they pretty much did was swap out the previous castle stages. What I mean by that is that the NES is the same layout as World 4-4 on the arcade, and the arcade is the same layout as World 4-4 on the NES. Not to mention, the NES already had this layout on World 2-4. Confused? Well, you should be. The only difference in the NES compared to the arcade is some pits are missing. The arcade is like the maze level in World 4-4 for the NES. The pathway is the same, and the level is almost identical to the NES, except towards the end. The end sequence is pretty hard here, as you must time your jump carefully so you don't hit your head and fall into the pit. I get why they swapped the levels, as the NES already did this layout in level 2-4, and they would be too close together. So how about not recycling the same damn levels? Just saying.